Welcome to the After Wine School podcast. This week, Keith and Alana are talking about how to hone your wine tasting skills. They share some great information, with a few key points at the end of the half hour. Oh, and Keith does sing in the introduction, and that's a bit cringe. Enjoy!
Welcome to After Wine School, the wine podcast.
Oh, do I have to sing?
Yes.
I'm Keith Wallace, hanging out with Alana.
I admire your confidence.
Yeah.
Where you took that was
it a bet to a bad place? I think we just lost 10% of our viewership right there alone. But we've gained some. The people who are really into atonal music,
yeah.
they now are like, we have a new grandmaster.
Let's tell the people what we are taking to the mic to talk about today.
I have no idea. This is After School, the wine podcast. I'm Keith, you're Alana. There's something about the National Wine School, our sponsor.
Display.
All right.
So this podcast, we have a sponsor, believe it or not. It is the National Wine School, the absolute best in online wine education. And as part of their sponsorship of our wine podcast, they have asked us to make clear to everyone that our opinions are completely our own and do not ascribe anything to any business, especially them. Anything you hear on this wine podcast is just between us, and it's completely our own opinions and viewpoints.
Oh, so I can just say things that are completely false and horrible, like the National Wine School's founder eats Play-Doh in his office.
Keith, I don't want to have to bench you so early on.
Okay.
Let me tell people what we had planned on talking about today.
Yeah, I know.
What we had planned on talking about was how to really work on your palate, on your sensory ability.
Oh, that's a good one.
Your own. A little DIY session.
Yeah.
Up your game when it comes to identifying smells, flavors.
This is great because this is good for even like sommeliers, winemakers still need to do this. But if you're just brand new to wine and you've never taken a wine class, that's also really good. So yeah, I guess we're working against ourselves. So even if you don't come to a wine class, we're going to give you tips and tricks. Wow.
For now.
Do we have like a freemium model? Oh, wow. This is not, yeah. Well, I guess we kind of do actually. Yes. We like talking about these things because I write about these things all the time anyways. And yes, that's free. But actually in a wine class is always better. Of course, because you actually get to taste the wines. All right. That said, this is a great idea, Alana. I really love this. So where should we start here? How should we launch this?
Well, I will tell you, when people ask me this question in like a 101 class, my go-to answer is to really just start smelling things, to get yourself to a grocery store. An Asian market is wonderful because there are so many different fruits and vegetables that we're not so familiar with. And so get to a place, go to a spice shop, go someplace where you just start smelling things. Do a little cooking. And when you're cooking, pull out things from your spice drawer. And before you use them, take a nice big whiff and really start thinking about the difference between rosemary and bay leaf,
True. Yes, this is good.
For your own.
To be honest, we could just stop there and just like, that's it. 30-second wine class. That's it.
You're so cheap, Keith.
But what you're saying is, so where because I start in a very similar place. I think the best way to start is just actually have a more mindful life for yourself. And what I mean by that is rather than seeking out things in the world to change yourself, actually find some things that you should already do that will bring you joy and just slow it down. Like we all have to do grocery shopping. Yes. And 100%. Yes, I agree. You should actually go smell everything, but just go to the local grocery store, whatever you're doing, smell everything that has any smell, right? Spices, herbs, sure. And all your vegetables, absolutely. Just doing that alone, and especially cheeses, even through, they're always going to have a smell. Just take your time, slow down a little bit. And if you're that person who's like smelling all the produce, smelling the cheeses, you're slowing down a little bit. And instead of being anxious in grocery shopping, it calms you down. It just makes it a more pleasurable because you're doing something to benefit yourself. And then, right, when you are at home and you cook, slow down. Smell every ingredient. Because the most magical thing, like say garlic, like when you peel a garlic, it has a very specific smell. When you crush it, and if you add a little salt to it, it's going to smell a little different. Like as the enzymes are starting to break down, put that in a hot pan with some oil or some clarified butter, it's going to smell differently. And each step of the way, you have these different aromas and they're the same thing. And this starts getting you in the mind frame of, oh, like the complexity of different things. You can describe almost anything with just a few ideas of cooking. Somebody asked me many, many years ago, like they're having a hard time understanding oak flavors, but they were a baker. So I told them to go bake an apple pie. And I use that a lot. And I've mentioned this before on the podcast, even bake an apple pie. The smell of individual ingredients, the taste of the individual ingredients, when they're raw, when they're cooking, and when it's finished completely changes, but so that you can have a completely different idea of what vanilla is. Because vanilla in its raw state is very different than vanilla being cooked. And then when it's actually finished, like that smoky flavor of vanilla is actually different than what raw vanilla smells like or tastes like. So these are delightful things. Know the difference between your different spices, your cinnamon, your vanilla, your allspice. When you understand those differences, you start building these different neural pathways. And before you even know it, before you even realize it, you're all of a sudden have this much more complex perception of the world that you didn't realize you could ever have. It's that thing that I think like new parents, when they smell a baby's head, realize they never had that smell, never had something that felt that way before. The whole world can be like that moment of smelling a baby's head. So many things are interesting, we just don't pay attention, and so this is what I mean by mindfulness, just allow yourself to open up, enjoy these things you typically rush through. It does mean you have to, like, oh, give an extra 10 minutes, 20 minutes here to do this, but just if you slow down on those things, you're having a better life, and you're also learning more and actually gaining so much more appreciation and so much more understanding that when it comes to wine, it starts becoming easier. You start noticing the complexity. This is something that part of like the core sommelier program does. It's one to show you well, first off, that you don't know what you're doing, that you're missing all these things. And then okay, how do we pay attention? How do we build the neural pathways to be able to start understanding all these smells and flavors? So yes, cooking is everything and learning how to appreciate it. And you don't have to be a good cook. Just learning how to make even a grilled cheese sandwich. There's plenty of sensory information of the difference between bread that's been baked or toasted or pan-seared in butter. Please, people, make your grilled cheese sandwiches in a whole lot of butter. Whole butter in the pan. Caramelize. Get that beautiful Maillard reaction happening. It's so crispy and delicious. I can just taste it right now.
My best friend in 6th grade,
Yeah.
she put paprika on her grilled cheese for
Oh.
me, and it was life-changing.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine?
That is
Sophisticated.
that's very the thing that really freaked me out, changed my world was actually when my grandfather actually put real cheddar cheese on apple pie, real apple pie,
You've told me that.
because I never knew that sweet and savory could go together and that it made this thing in your brain go pop. Like for instance, one of my dogs actually always smells awful and floral at the same time. Like it is just, and I love that smell. I love that dog. It's like it's stinky and beautiful at the
One
same.
dog smells like Doritos when she's sleeping. Oh
Yeah.
my god, I get in there, I get by her armpit,
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah.
oh, that stanky Doritos."
Yeah, because you can break it down. Well, that's lactic bacteria, and,
I prefer not to break it
I know.
down.
That's the difference between you and I.
Absolutely. But also, I think what you were saying, one of the things about our world that we inhabit today is that a sign of luxury, a sign of just a homey space is something devoid of bad smells.
Oh, yeah.
But we get a little too accustomed, I think,
Yeah.
to sterile being equated with good.
Oh.
I think it's why people struggle with a lot of intensely earthy wines, is because we're not used to being a little uncomfortable with what we're smelling.
Yeah.
If you have a piece of fruit that's rotting,
Oh.
before you throw it away, Give it
Yeah,
a good whiff and see if you can tease out the hints
that's
of
fascinating.
foul and kind of keep that.
Yeah,
I think we need to practice a little bit more like and catalog what we don't like or
yeah.
what's challenging. Because also, this is a theme that's come up is the world is always changing, tastes are always changing, and we're always changing. Our preferences, my big breakthrough a year ago was that I actually liked Grenache Blanc and you've been on this journey with me.
That's true. Oh, that's so
The fennel smell, it's not
yeah.
something I enjoy, and I just did not care for the texture, the viscosity, none of it. And then I turned a corner, and it was what I wanted to keep drinking with everything
I know it.
about a year ago.
I know, and that threw me for a loop because, yeah, so I would never make any food that would go well with Grenache Blanc, which is one of my absolute favorites. You've always loved Marsanne and Roussanne, those other Rhone varietals, but Grenache Blanc, which I love because it's deep and textural and just funky and weird. Yeah, I know that licorice thing.
Mhm.
Oh, that good and plenty note. Oh my god. I mean, I don't even really like licorice, but in that,
Well, that's really
beautiful.
anyway, the point is to just kinda challenge yourself and
Yes.
use that information too, and don't see it as a necessarily a static thing.
Oh, that's a good point. Everyone really should understand it. And it's something that I actually do stress in my classes that nothing ever stays the same. You're
Right.
always evolving. The things you love and hate tend to swap.
Mhm.
This is the guaranteed with people. Like everyone's dated somebody who now they hate. You know, you love them then, you hate them now. What happened? Right? This happens in marriages. This happens in everything. The only thing it doesn't happen with is in puppies. Like no one ever says, "Oh, that was a shitty puppy." I do have a shitty. I say that all the time. But I still a lot of love. Like, yeah, Charlie, I love Charlie. He's just an awful dog. This is great. These are good things to just adapt it to your own life. If you learn how to cook, you don't have to be a great cook. It's just about understanding process, understanding smells, being okay with that, and maybe have that air filter going 24/7 in your house either. Like get used to some of the smells of like, yeah, getting a whiff of garbage once in a while. This is actually not a bad thing. Life is life. And wine does reflect life in a great many ways. And it's one of the things that makes my career possible is that I do like there's so many parts of wine that are just reminiscent of human life. I bring that forward in almost all my classes. That said, I have a couple techniques that I've used over the years to learn to understand about wine, or if someone's not taking a class or they're having a difficulty and they want to expand. What I tend to do is tell them instead of going outwards, go more narrow. It's something that I did when I wanted to get a better understanding of the world of wine back when I was a winemaker, but I didn't really have a full breadth of the world of wine.
Mm.
So what I did, and this worked great, I started with a grape that I knew very well because I was making it. It was Cabernet Franc. And what I did was I went from there and I went to found Cabernet Franc from everywhere in the world that were known for the Cabernet Franc. So whether it's from the Central Loire, like from Anjou or even Chinon, South Africa, Pennsylvania, which is actually where I was making it, bunch of examples there. Other places on the East Coast, Napa Valley, everywhere that a winery made good Cabernet Franc, I tried it. And there was like, I went 20, 30, 40, and nothing but for months. And that helped me a great deal of understanding nuances about how these areas thought about Cabernet Franc. And it built this internal matrix of what it always is, and then what it can be outside of that. That is actually where I got the idea for the core sommelier program was realizing that there was these varietal fingerprints that always existed and that we could actually learn about all of them throughout the world of wine. So this process gave me a lot of insight into wine.
Mm.
And in fact, actually really started the school sommelier programming. If anyone goes to our website, phenology.com, you'll find an article by an old student about his year of Riesling. Because I sent one of my students who really wanted to learn more about wine, and he had taken all of our classes. And he said, I want something to do. I've graduated. I want something else. It's like this spend as much time as you can with one wine. And he did. And he spent an entire year drinking nothing but Rieslings. And it was just really fascinating seeing because it didn't his ability to notice the variations of Rieslings became so amazing and so fine-grained, but also his palate changed over the time, and that and he actually had those huge revelations during that year, like things that he used to not like and now he likes. His nuances of his language just completely changed. And then afterwards, he wrote an article about it for our website. And yeah, it's interesting listening to him write about it, his evolution over that year. So that's another thing that you can do.
Well, 2 things I wanna highlight from that,
Yes.
going to white wines. Like, I think if you especially in the beginning,
Yes.
to really hone in on some nuances and complexities. White wines, I always say to my classes, these are your best friends. These are where you can really start flexing your ability to detect subtle, complex, floral, minerality, all types of fruits, all types of earth notes. I think white wines are amazing. So the fact that he devoted his year to Riesling, I
Yeah.
can see where that would
Yeah.
pay off
Yeah.
in a huge way. Also, being authentic to your own experience. His descriptions of things changed. His viewpoint changed. You can always tell when someone is speaking authentically
Yeah.
versus not. And it only sets you back to sort of regurgitate something that you've read or heard that sounded really amazing to you. My famous example is crushed white lilies.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
My time teaching wine, crushed white lilies. There was a student who insisted he smelled it in so many different wines
Yeah.
during the core program. And I finally just said to him, I never want to hear you say that again. You don't know what that smells like.
Yeah.
You don't know what it smells. You are just parroting something and you're setting yourself back. And sadly, this guy actually did go on to have a career in wine and,
Yeah.
absolutely hates me to this day.
But honestly,
If I see you're doing something that's just holding you back, you can work against yourself by having someone else's voice in your mind. That's just going to stop you from developing.
I've had for me, I had a student who it was everything was aged in 5
Yes, I've
spice.
heard that.
Yeah. First of all, that's a very complicated smell.
It very much is.
And then so yeah, and I asked, like, "So what are the spices in Asian 5 spice?"
Chinese five space?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always call it Asian 5
Oh,
spice just because it's not Chinese.
yeah.
Yes, but they didn't know any of the spices in it.
Right.
Like, well, then that's just like me saying it smells like Tabasco sauce. Like, if you don't know what's in it, then how can you use that as but you clearly don't know. You just heard it one time. It's true. If you really want to seem inauthentic and just full of bullshit, absolutely. Just parrot something. Authentic expressions are the most important. It's one of the things that actually, when I'm grading online programming, is we do the whole core program through the National Wine School
Mhm.
online. It's fascinating. There's a lot of innovations in that because even though you're doing it on your own, it does train you how to smell and sense when you take that exam, especially when you get to Syrah. I really know if a student's doing is authentic and not full of shit and just trying to parrot something is when they're giving me real examples of what it smells like. You know, everyone knows different kinds of meats. Even if a vegetarian, you do know these smells and you can describe them or of decaying flesh or whatever. You like these are part of the human existence. And if you can explain them to me, I know you're being authentic. But I have a lot of students who will just like parrot something like it's obvious right away. It's so obvious when people are inauthentic, even when I'm grading things online. Even if they're not in front of me, it's obvious. Find your way, explore, like find one wine and explore it. Go all the way down, every style from everywhere. That's an amazing way to start to learn about wines. Are there any other ways that you do this? How can people learn about wine or build their palate and their sense of smell?
I don't often tell people this, but if they keep pressing me after I've said, go to the grocery store, start cooking, smell things in your kitchen, I will point out that, there are some people who are just really activated by smell.
Yeah.
And those type of people oftentimes become perfumers or
Yeah.
go into that field. I probably would have really enjoyed just indulging in activating my ability to smell. Like, that is something that gives me a lot of pleasure.
Yeah.
So try to give that a try. Don't limit it to wine. See if there's a way you can bring it into home scents or perfume or something that
Yes.
it's just I think just like broadening your idea of when you want to focus on smelling things in wine. Like, don't make it
Oh,
so
yeah.
didactic. Just kind of be open. If
Yeah.
you really want to indulge in the world of smells, just think about like how many other places you can test that. Like, go for a walk in the woods, go for a walk on the beach,
Yeah.
smell just
I have to agree because, well, one of the things, especially with scents, one of the best projects I ever was involved was when the National Wine School needed to build out the programming, and one of the things they needed was scent kits.
right.
So developing those scent kits and the various, like, because you're building them like a perfumer, that was absolutely fantastic and phenomenal, and I've always loved that part of it. Like, many years ago, I actually started, building scents for class, and then to take that nationally was amazing. Now, the only caveat I will give is that most of the commercially available ones you can buy on Amazon, retail, like the ones we do, that you can't buy them retail, you have to get them through as a part of one of the programs because they're expensive to make and they're really dialed in to specific scents and wine. That said, whether it's perfume or just getting a scent kit and being able to smell the difference between cherry and raspberry, like starting to notice those smaller differences, really important, and it can really help. But just eating them, like so many
Yeah.
flavors in wine are fruits. Be healthier, eat some more fruits. It is amazing how, or just recognizing the differences of like a really perfectly ripe blueberry versus one that's like slightly underripe or overripe or maybe a little dry. I mean, obviously, it's better if you're in a classroom setting to learn these things,
Sure.
whether online or in person. It's always, always better. But there's so many ways you can explore. And, or even if you want to actually just explore one wine region at a time, just say, okay, I wanna learn Burgundy. No, no, let's not say Burgundy because then you'll be very poor by the end. Just say, "I want Chagua Valley in Chile." Let's just start and just research all the producers, learn all you can about them, pick up some of their great wines and some of their lesser wines, and just start exploring and build your way out slowly. That's always a great way to start. Or even just start with a specific winery. Are you a fan of one winery? Okay, then start there and then delve into what wine region are they in. Okay, then start exploring that wine region. Or, oh, there's one wine that I really love. I really like this grape. Well, then focus on that for a while. Pay attention. Make it a hobby. Make it fun. Explore one small thing at a time. And all of a sudden, you'll find that you've reached a really large level of knowledge, and you're gonna find yourself better for it. So, yeah, just eat and drink, I guess, is what we're saying.
Well, yeah, and the beautiful thing is you'll never experience everything, you'll never smell everything.
Yes.
There's no
Oh, yeah.
destination.
No, that's true. That's the most beautiful thing about what we do
Yeah.
is, and I notice I always change, like, what the things I used to love, I'm not really a fan of anymore, and the things I absolutely love now, all have changed. Everything always evolves, and that's not good for better, and that's the things. You're not like, and there's nobody, sure, people may be a little further ahead than you are, but they're not better than you.
Right.
Everyone can get there. This is not, and it's not a race. Just enjoy your time doing this, and the more you enjoy it, the better it's going to be for you and everyone else.
That's it exactly. People will be able to tell
Oh,
if it's authentic.
oh, absolutely. I mean, I have had students lately who've come to me and sat down and like they're just jazzed about this one specific thing. And yeah, do you want to be a winemaker in Michigan? Sure, absolutely. That's the part of the wine trade that you really find fascinating and interesting. Absolutely. Do this. Are you interested in actually how, like, trellising and how plants grow? Like, I've had another student, I talked for an hour about how to graft different kinds of vines or grapevines onto pre-existing rootstocks, but that you can have that. And that's the nice thing in wine. I mean, yeah, it is. If you enjoy it, you can make a life out of it. And that's what I do. I think that's what you do too.
Oh, it's lovely. Yes.
Again, hey, if you want, I'll uplifting conversations. Always talk to the chronically depressed guy who runs the wine school.
Well, and we got dangerously close to going in depth about decomp, and I'm glad we kind of pulled back. There were a couple times in today's discussion.
Oh, yes.
We were talking about human existence and how
Yeah.
close it is to decomp. And we pulled it back.
Oh, we did.
And
All
I'm
right.
very glad.
All right, everyone. Have a fantastic day.
Like, subscribe.
Yes, like and subscribe.
Ciao.
All right. We're on the case. Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Thank you for listening. We greatly appreciate you and your time. If you enjoy what we do, please rate and review the After Wine School podcast on Apple Podcast or anywhere you listen to artisanally grown audio. God, that is pretentious. Who wrote that shit?